Sri Vishnu Sahasranama, name 947, is Jana-janmadi. This might seem like a bit of an unusual name, but it's quite easy to understand if we break down the components. We have Jana, Janma, and Adi. So Jana means people, living beings. It can be extended to mean living beings. Janma means the birth or bringing into being. And Adi means the cause of. So most of course there are other ways to break it down, as with all names, but what we can say the straightforward or the straightforward way to understand it is he who is the root cause of all living beings. And that is how Sri Satyadeva Vasishta explains it. He usually gives a very literal unpacking of the name. So, one who is the cause of all living beings. This fits very well with Anadi, which came 6 names before. And while discussing the name Anadi, which means without a beginning, I discussed that means that he is the cause of all causes. So he is the root cause of everything, and particularly this name gives the idea that, or underscores the fact that he, Bhagavan, Vishnu, ultimately Krishna, is the cause of the birth of all living beings. So both Shankaracharya and Parashar Bhatta give this interpretation, and Parashar Bhatta gives another one, that he who is the ultimate goal of all living beings. As Srila Prabhupada writes at the beginning of his Krishna book, everyone is looking for Krishna. Some people know it and some people don't, but everyone is looking for Krishna. When we eat food, when we look for food, that's the first stage of consciousness, the Panchakosha, described in the Upanishads. Every living being's first desire is for food. Well, that's also a name of Brahma. Anna is a name of Brahma, the ultimate truth. So when we're looking for food, we're looking for Krishna. When we're attracted sexually, ultimately we're looking for Krishna. Everything we do, we're looking for Krishna, just that we don't know. Our ultimate need is for Krishna, for love of Krishna. That is our prayojan. Krishna Vishayaka Prem Param Purushartha. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explains that over and above the goals of human life, which are dharma, religiosity, artha, economic development, kama, desire, sensual desire, and moksha, release from the cycle of birth and death, our highest need, or another way he puts it, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, prayojan, is prem, love, specifically love for Krishna. And we may remember that this series of names is being described by Parashar Bhatta in terms of why the Lord takes avatars. Why does he come to this world? Why does he administer this world? What's he doing? Why isn't he just happy in his own abode? So Parashar Bhatta explains that he gives birth to, he arranges for them to take different kinds of bodies within this material world with the idea that they are ultimately to go toward Him. He is their ultimate goal. Tesham jananam janmana adihi. The root cause, the nimitta prayojanam. Nimitta prayojanam iti Jana-janmadihi. The root cause of the Supreme Lord arranging this material world, giving the living beings birth in different bodies, is so that they can ultimately make progress toward Him and ultimately attain Him. In this regard, he quotes from the Vishnu Dharma, as he often does, Adya me safalam janma, or Adya me sapalam janma, in which the speaker says, this day my birth has become fruitful, safalam, and my night has given place to an auspicious dawn, because I'm going to see Lord Krishna. Who is the speaker? Akrura. This, of course, parallels the statement in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that now, Akrura, yes, my goal of being born is about to be fulfilled. I'm going to see Krishna. Janmanya bifala saika ya govinda shraya kriya. The only act in this world that is not fruitless is that which has something or activities that take us to the shelter of Govinda. Sujanma dehamatyantam taddeva shesha jantushu yadeva pulukot bhasi Visnu-namani kirtite. Amongst all the living beings, that person has taken a birth which is meaningful when their bodily hairs stand on end in bliss when they say the name of Krishna. So Jana-janmadi means he who is the cause of birth for all living creatures in the universe. The immediate cause is, of course, the vasanas, the general desires of each being. Vasana means the deep-seated, deep in the consciousness, deeply subliminal, the deep desire for material enjoyment, which manifests in more concrete forms. In other words, someone may have a very strong sexual desire, and that becomes manifest when it is concentrated on a particular body, where someone desires to enjoy a particular body. So desire is the cause of our birth, and karma, what we do based on that desire, brings us to another birth. So we can say, why am I born in this particular body? Because of my desires, because of what I did, and these are combined together in a huge, long chain, spreading out over unlimited births. So the cause of our being born is our desire. Yeah, it comes down to desire, but the root cause is Bhagavan himself, who gives us the opportunity to fulfill these desires, and at the same time is pointing us toward Him. So in that way, if we see it this way, these two understandings of this name, Jana-janmadi, they both come in one combined meaning, that He is the cause of the birth of all living beings, but He gives them the birth so that they can ultimately progress toward Him, because He is the ultimate goal of all living beings. So He is the bestower of birth to all living beings. Remember, when a child is born, ultimately it's a gift of God. That's why in India, in Hindu families, we often see a child is given the name something like Krishna Prasada or Rama Prasada. It means the mercy of Krishna, the mercy of Rama, or there may be other names, the mercy of Hanuman. We have Bhakti Sahasranama Thakur was named Bimala Prasad. All his brothers were given names like that. Kamala Prasad, Lalita Prasad, in the names of different devis, demigoddesses, or manjaris in the spiritual world. So by their mercy. And of course, Vimala is the Shakti in Puri, where Bhakti Sahasranama Thakur was born. The form of Shakti there is Vimala, and her temple is within the temple compound of Jagannath. So that kind of name is often given when people don't have a child and they pray to a particular deity and they are blessed with a child, and then they call after the name of that deity. Again, Krishna Prasad, Rama Prasad, Devi Prasad, Vimala Prasad, names like this. When a child is born, think that is the mercy of Krishna. Even if the child is born with some, what they call a birth defect, remember, it's Krishna's mercy. Another meaning, which is derived from a completely different unpacking of the Sanskrit, is that Vishnu is called Jana-janmadi because staying on the chariot, he defeats his opponents. Or he goes on his chariot to defeat the opponents. Baladev Vidyabhushan gives the meaning of the name as Jana-janmadi. He takes it with an at the beginning, which is quite acceptable if one knows some Sanskrit grammar. It's quite acceptable to take it in the opposite way also. Within the verse, if the verse is cut up, it can be taken as Jana-janmadi or Jana-janmadi. So here then, this gives the idea of being non-eternal. In this regard, in the previous name, Baladev Vidyabhushan gave the idea that now we're talking about the Rasa festival, the Rasa dance, which is going on the side of Govardhan in the springtime. So to say that this pastime is brought about, it must be non-eternal. If you say Krishna is the cause of the Rasa dance, he brought it about, so it must be something just which happened at one particular point in time. But in response to this, Bhishma says, Baladev specifically mentions Bhishma, which gives the idea that Bhishma is specifically thinking of this meaning when he gives this name. So in response to the doubt which may arise that the rasa dance, which takes place on the side of Govardhan in springtime, must be non-eternal, in response to this, Bhishma says, he is Jana-janmadi. In other words, whose appearance and disappearance, Janmadi means birth, death, and everything in between it. But in the case of Krishna, there's no death, there's no birth either, because it's devoid of causation. Ajana, there's nothing which causes Krishna's birth, death, or anything else, and that applies to his pastimes. Baladev Vidyabhushan in this regard quotes from the Purusha Bodhini Upanishad, Eko Devo Nitya Lila Anurakto Bhakta Vyapi Bhakta Hridyantaratma. The same Supreme Lord is engaged in Nitya Lila. He is engaged in eternal pastimes. Nitya Lila Anuraktaha. He's very attached to these eternal pastimes. He loves dancing with the gopis so much, he doesn't just do it once, he does it every time he comes. That same Lord who's engaged in eternal pastimes pervades the devotees, he completely pervades every atom of their being, and is also the Supreme Soul within the hearts of the devotees. And then, so in this way, Baladev Vidyabhushan gives a quote from the Shruti, Purusha Bodhini Upanishad, and also from the Smriti from Bhagavad Gita. Janma karma cha me divyam evang yo veti tatvataha tyagdva dehang punar janma naiti mam eti surjuna. One who factually knows my transcendental appearance, that my appearance in this world is transcendental, appearance and activities, does not, upon leaving the body, take birth again in this material world, but attains me, O Arjuna. So this pastime, or all of Krishna's pastimes, the pastimes of the rasa dance, the pastime of being born from Devaki, the pastime of being born from Yashoda, the butter-stealing pastimes, taking out the calves and the cows, these pastimes are already existing. They're going, Krishna is manifesting in different universes, one after the other. So that pastime is eternal. It may not be manifest right here at one particular time, but it's always going on in some universe, or in many universes. So that Baladev Vidyabhushan explains in detail in his philosophical work Siddhanta Ratnam. He explains the eternality of Krishna's pastimes. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya vacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha